Hey guys, and welcome back to Jesus Talks with Jess. I'm so glad you're joining me today. So for today's little talk, I just wanted to start off by asking you guys the question, what is solitude? Now, when you think of that word, you might immediately think of isolation or loneliness, but actually solitude is a spiritual discipline, and it's a spiritual discipline that we should all practice in our lives because it doesn't mean isolating yourself or being lonely, but it actually means just spending alone time with God. In the Bible, there's several different stories where we see people go off and hear God's voice in that quiet, alone time when they were practicing solitude rather than when they were surrounded by the noise of the world. One example is Moses, and I'll add the verses in the description below so you can go back, and I want to encourage you to go back and really read them and study them. But the first person is Moses. When he went out to the wilderness, he heard from God in the burning bush, not when he was surrounded by people, surrounded by his family, but when he went out by himself. That's when he heard God's voice. Another person in the Bible, Elijah, he heard God when he went out by himself. He heard the still small voice of God, not when he was in the city with everybody, but when he was off alone. And finally, we even have Jesus. When he wanted to pray to the Father, he wouldn't, stay in the crowds. He would go out to the mountains. He would go out and pray so often and for so long that they would even send people looking for him because they didn't know where he went, because he would spend that alone time, because he practiced that solitude. And so I just want to encourage you guys to do that, because so many times we feel guilty if we spend that alone time, or we take that time for ourselves, or we have fear of missing out, and we're always on the go. But you see, the problem with that is that we're going to be so crowded and so surrounded by all this noise that a lot of times it's going to be very difficult for us to really hear what God's trying to tell us. We need to separate ourselves from our work, from things happening around us, so that we can tune in to what God is trying to tell us. This doesn't necessarily mean that you stop talking to everybody and you isolate yourself. It's definitely not isolation, but it's just separating yourself from distractions and from things that are going to prevent you from hearing the voice of God. So I just want to encourage you guys to really begin to practice solitude in your life. Look at the people in the Bible, even look at Jesus, how sometimes you have to get away from the crowd. Don't feel guilty if you have to tell somebody no, or you have to, not go to that hangout because you really need to spend that time with God. If you haven't been hearing God's voice, think, have you been spending time with God? Have you been alone with God? So I just want to encourage you to go out, practice solitude. It's not as bad as it sounds. Trust me, it's really awesome. And let me know how it goes. Message me, write in the comments. I want to know how it goes for you, because it's really something that we need to practice more, especially in this time and this day. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. Have a great week, and God bless you.